Alas, all good things must come to an end. And so does this 22 and 22 series, our final installment where you already know what team we're going to have at number one. We're going to have the current favorites for the NBA championship, the team out of LA, the Los Angeles Lakers. So the Los Angeles Lakers are actually one of the most top-heavy teams, yet one of the best teams in the NBA. Headed by two of the arguably top five best players in the league right now, LeBron James and Anthony Davis. They have cruised to an insanely good record this season. They have only lost 14 games this season thus far and are looking to capitalize on their solid performance throughout the remaining 8 games before the playoffs. Now, there's a few reasons why we think that the Lakers are like one of the best teams in the league. The first one is because it's LeBron James. LeBron James is arguably the second best player of all time. Some people even have him at one. But it's because he has so much dynamic variability to his game that it's just purely amazing what he is able to bring to the court. He, this season, in the 17th season, just decided to randomly switch to point guard and led the league in assists, averaging over 10.5 assists per game. He still is scoring 25 points a game and is one of the top defenders in the league. And Anthony Davis, his teammate, who is about 10 years younger than him, is the leading scorer on the team, averaging also around 25 points per game, but actually is currently around second, or in some people's opinion, first in Defensive Player of the Year voting. Those two are just so incredibly amazing at basketball that they carry this Lakers team over many of the other teams who are honestly better in average talent than them. Other than them, the Lakers have a lot of other players who they're going to be relying on throughout this time. For example, they have two really solid centers in Dwight Howard and JaVale McGee. They have a plethora of young guards and old veterans at the guard positions, some of whom are not coming to the bubble, like Avery Bradley, but others, like Rajon Rondo, who got injured, are giving room to other players like Alex Caruso and Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Additionally, last year, Kyle Kuzma averaged a solid 16 or 18 points per game, but this year he has taken a backseat as he's coming off the bench. So if Kyle Kuzma is really the Kyle Kuzma we saw last year, then we might see a surprising uptick in performance for him in these 8 games. Now, looking at the games they're playing, they start off with a banger on Thursday, this coming Thursday, when they face the Clippers. And that's going to be their toughest game throughout the entire 8-game stretch. Although they faced a lot of tough teams like the Clippers, Raptors, Thunder, Rockets, and Nuggets, I still think that the Lakers will go 6-2 in these 8 games, and they will find themselves at the top of the Western Conference, facing the winner of the 8th seed shenanigans going on at the bottom. Now, since LeBron, when he was on the Eastern Conference, led the Heat and Cavaliers to 8 straight finals over teams who were sometimes more talented than his, I think LeBron can carry Anthony Davis and the rest of these fellows all the way to the finals and possibly even winning this. But they're going to stand their biggest tests against the LA Clippers and whoever comes out of the East. Okay, so this is the part where we discuss our rankings of this team. Now, obviously, as you would have seen if you watched yesterday's video on the Clippers, we did not all agree on which team was the best team in the NBA. In fact, I was the lone dissident, saying that the Lakers are in fact the second best team in the NBA. Although I really like this team and I like LeBron James and Anthony Davis as players, I just don't think that there is a way for them to stack up against a clearly more talented and more widespread offense and defensive team that is the Clippers. The Clippers played the Lakers 3 times this season, and the Clippers won twice. So if that's anything to show, it's going to be a close series, but I think the Clippers will be able to pull out eventually. I feel like the difference between the top 2 stars in LeBron and AD versus Kawhi and Paul George isn't that far, but it's more than sufficiently made up for, one, on the defensive side, because both Kawhi and PG are defensive studs, and on the offensive side with players such as Lou Williams and Montrezl Harrell, and even new additions like Reggie Jackson and Marcus Morris helping them out. overall, I just think there's way too many players on the Clippers who are better than the third best or fourth best player on the Lakers, that it's just not possible for the Lakers to match up with them. And I think that the Clippers are better. But I still have hope that the Lakers could make it a series, and there is a slight possibility that they could beat the Clippers.
All right, so I had the Lakers a bit higher at 1, where we have them collectively. And I think that this is just, I'm not going to talk about the Lakers being better than like the teams in the Eastern Conference. I think we all agree that if the Lakers were to make the finals, they would win. But what we're really talking about here is that crucial conference finals matchup versus the Clippers. And there definitely is an argument that the Lakers don't have the depth that the Clippers do. But I think we saw just in their last meeting, just before the break, that AD and LeBron, even though they don't have amazing depth besides them, are just unstoppable, as they put up 58 points together against what is one of the best defenses in the league. And they made Marcus Morris and Lou Williams look like Taj Gibson and Dennis Smith Jr. But if they replicate that the success from March, then I think that they'll be able to win the conference finals, and I think they'll also be able to win the finals, as we all agree on. So that's why I have the Lakers at number 1.
So I also had the Lakers at number 1, and it's for similar reasons. And I think the Clippers did beat the Lakers in a head-to-head matchup earlier in the year, but their most recent matchup, which was right before the regular season ended, the Lakers definitely dominated the Clippers. The Clippers had many passing issues and just a lot of issues all over the court. I think that really goes to show that the Lakers are better in a head-to-head matchup. And in addition, I really don't think that the depth of the bench of the Clippers should really go into question right now, or should really be a debate right now. Like, it should really be debated, like, who has better bench depth. Because as of right now, the Lakers have a way better bench depth because at least all of their players are there. Because Patrick Beverley, Lou Williams, Montrezl Harrell, amazing defenders and great scorers are all out, and even more players, I can't remember them from the top of my head, but even more bench players are out, and I think that's going to have a really big impact on the Clippers because, first of all, for seeding in the playoffs, the Clippers may not maintain their number 2 seed because they're just so close, but the Lakers definitely will. So if the Clippers drop, they're going to have a way harder path to the playoffs, and I think that with the loss of these players and them suddenly returning for the playoffs, I think that's going to have a little bit of an effect on their mojo, or just maybe a little bit of a chemistry issue. But the Lakers are going to play together the entire time, and the Lakers have already proven that they're the better team. So I think that a fully healthy Clippers team would be a formidable matchup for the Lakers. I don't even know which team would be better. Maybe even the Clippers may even have the edge. But in the current state, I think that the Lakers are better.
Well, that's our opinion for all 22 teams who are returning to the Orlando bubble. Leave a like and comment below about whether you enjoyed the entire series and our final couple of rankings, as we have the Lakers at number 1. Well, there's going to be so many more series like this and a huge variety of videos which we'll be posting in the upcoming months. But that's it for this series. This is the Benchwarmers, and we're signing off. See ya.